Hi everybody, Dugraz here with Dugraz Reports. Unless you've been living under a rock recently, you're aware that we've got a thing going on called COVID-19, also known as the coronavirus, and because of that, most of us are having to quarantine to an extent, self-quarantine, stay at home, avoid social contact, do the whole social distancing thing. So I thought today I would do a What's in My Wallet COVID-19 edition, where I go over cards that are helpful in terms of stuff you can do mostly from home, or at least while semi-cooped up. So without further ado, let's take a look at some credit cards that might be useful during this very strange time we find ourselves in. First up, I would mention the American Express Blue Cash Preferred Card. In my opinion, this is the best American Express card there is, but that's just me. In terms of how it earns, the Blue Cash Preferred, well, first of all, it should only be used if you spend over $3,500 per year on groceries. And that's just the way the annual fee breaks out, and I'll explain more on that in just a little bit here. This card gives you 6% back on supermarkets. Now, that would be any grocery store. It also includes Walmart online grocery. I have personally tested that out, by the way. I do have a separate video. I'll put a card up in the corner linking to that if you want to see a verification that it works for Walmart online grocery. And that 6% applies to up to $6,000 worth of purchases in a calendar year. It gives you 6% back on streaming services. So raise your hand, who's using Hulu or Netflix or Disney Plus or something like that right now? I know our family sure does, while we're all trapped at home here. And then it also gives you 3% back on transit, which includes gas, rideshare, etc. Obviously, gas would be the most helpful there. It does have a $95 annual fee. So the reason I said for my first point, you should only get this card if you spend more than $3,500 per year on groceries, is because when you factor in the annual fee, compared to a 3% cash back on grocery card, of which there's many, you will come out ahead with this card only if you spend at least $3,500 per year. And then, yes, once you clear the $6,000 a year hurdle, you should put your spend on something else, maybe a card that you're working on a minimum spend for. I'll take just a moment to pause to let you know that this channel is all about finding excellent value for the average Joe and average Jane, especially in terms of credit card rewards, points, discounts, special fines, those kind of things. If that sounds interesting to you, please subscribe to this channel and please click the thumbs up button. Moving on, the next card that I would consider during this time is the Discover card, and it could be called the Discover More or Discover It, depending when you opened it. Mine is a Discover card, Discover More card, just because I've had it for more than 15 years. It looks kind of like this picture, but the newer card, the Discover It, does the exact same thing. This is a card that gives you 5% cash back on quarterly categories that rotate. For the first quarter of 2020, the bonus categories were grocery stores, Walgreens, and CVS Pharmacy. So like in our family, every year at the beginning of the year, we have a large deductible to meet for a health insurance plan. And some of our prescriptions come from Walgreens. So that's been something that we actually can use. If you're going to drop $1,000 in January and another $1,000 in February, why not at least get 5% back on it, make $50 each of those times? So that's been helpful, but March is ending in about 3 or 4 days as of the day I'm recording this. So you might want to look at second quarter, which has the bonus categories of gas stations, Uber, Lyft, and wholesale clubs. Now, I don't think Uber and Lyft are going to get a whole lot of action since we're all staying home and not going much of anywhere, but maybe if you need to use it, that's an option. Wholesale clubs, the two biggest examples, of course, would be Costco or Sam's Club. So if you're stocking up on toilet paper, that would be a great use starting in about 4 days. And for me, you still have to use gas stations. Do drive around a little bit. You can pay at the pump if you don't want to go inside, those kind of things, to stick with your social distancing goals. Next up is the Amazon Prime Visa, and the key feature of this card is that you get 5% back on Amazon purchases. This only applies if you have a Prime account. Also 5% back on Whole Foods. I don't use Whole Foods. Again, you must have an Amazon Prime membership account. I would not go out and get this card and sign up for the Prime membership just to get the 5% back. But if you're someone who uses Amazon Prime anyway, this would be a tremendous value. For example, let's say that you're buying all your grocery supplies and like paper towels and medication on Amazon because you're trapped at home. Hey, why not go ahead and put it on this card, get 5% cash back. By the way, some of these cards do have refer a friend links. I will put those in the description box down below. If you could use those, that would help support the channel. And even the ones that don't, I'll still put in the description box down below so you can find your way to them. Thanks. Next up is the Chase Inc. Business Cash Card. I realize you do have to have a small business for this of some kind, whether it's something as simple as selling things on eBay, or in my case, doing YouTube videos. I also officiate high school football, so I can claim that for business purposes. Every month you have to pay a cell phone bill, so why not get 5% back on your cell phone bill? Also, every month you have to pay a cable/internet bill. Why not get 5% back on that? Great use for this card. Not a gigantic category, but the kind of thing you're probably doing all the time anyway. So why not get 5% cash back? Technically, those are ultimate rewards, so you can transfer it over to another card, like the, for example, Chase Sapphire Reserve, Chase Sapphire Preferred, or the Chase Inc. Business Preferred if you want to use it for actual UR points. But if you just want to take cash, that's okay too. You're allowed to do that. There's also 5% back on office stores. I'm not using that right now because I'm trying not to go into stores if I don't have to, but that is an option just to mention. Next up is the US Bank Altitude Reserve Card. Now, I don't necessarily specifically recommend this for everyone right now. I actually got approved for this card, and I'll put some videos up here where you can see my approval process on that. Fairly recently, I'm still working on the minimum spend, so for me, this is something I'm using for just non-category spending. If it's just something like a dentist's office where I'm not going to get cash back anyway. I'm not going to get more than 1% back anyway. Might as well work on that minimum spend. But one reason you might want to consider it is because it does give 3% back on mobile wallet purchases. And if the airlines and motels ever get back to the position where you're wanting to travel, that 3% can be turned into 4.5% used in their portal or the real-time rewards. So 3% is pretty good, even if you just take it as cash back. I have found that when it comes to mobile wallet, one thing I like about that right now where we're trying to social distance is here in Iowa where I live, restaurants are still open, but only for drive-through or carry-out. So if I go to a fast food restaurant and go through the drive-through, I don't really want to hand them my credit card, have them touch it and hand it back to me. So I just take my cell phone, and I don't have it with me, this is a calculator, but I take my cell phone and tap it to the credit card reader. And that way I don't have to touch anything that is metal or plastic. The only thing they're going to hand me is my bag of food. So I kind of like that feature. Sometimes you have to be kind of bold or aggressive in the drive-through because it's almost like no one has ever asked me that before. I went through KFC's drive-through a few days ago, and I said, "Can I do Apple Pay?" And she said, "Sure." I held out her hand like that. I'm like, I have to keep my thumb on the button. Oh, so they, uncurl the cord, stick it halfway out the window. I put my hand out the window and do the little ding thing for I have Apple Pay, and that works. Anyway, I'm rambling now. I like using it in that way. The Altitude Reserve also gives 3% back on travel, but right now we're not really using travel. So it has a $400 annual fee. There's a $325 annual travel credit. We are lucky in that we did some traveling in February before all this coronavirus stuff came down. We've already got our $325 credit. So that makes an effective annual fee of $75 on a net basis. And it's not that hard to overcome that $75. For example, it has primary car rental insurance. It has some go-go in-flight Wi-Fi passes. If the airport lounges ever open up again, you do get 12 visits related to the Priority Pass lounges. So yeah, that's the US Bank Altitude Reserve. I wouldn't necessarily sign up for it unless you're planning on doing it anyway, but just something to think about. Well, I hope you liked that video. I hope it was helpful for you. And if you would check around some of my other videos, I would really appreciate that. Put a comment down below. Let me know, how are you spending differently with the coronavirus? Are you canceling cards? Are you opening new cards? Are you just putting everything on hold for a while? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So may your travels be safe and may your points be plentiful. Thanks for watching.